So hi everybody, and welcome to this Melting Pot talk on the future world of work with Kat Agostinho, co-founder of the UK company Imagine Insights. Kat, you are the co-founder of Imagine Insights. For people who haven't heard of the company, what exactly is it that you do?
Firstly, hi everyone. Nice to see you all. So we are your go-to platform for Gen Z insights. What that means is that we enable agencies and brands to gain qualitative, so long-form insights from our global community within minutes.
When you say your global community, what do you mean?
So we have 35,000 young people aged 16 to 27 in 111 countries now. And we also work with other demographics, but this is the focus for Gen Z. So 35,000 young people, part of our community.
But are they like your employees in a sense?
So it's free to join the community. They answer a series of questions, but really the only prerequisite is that you are between 16 and 27. And then you become a part of our Imagine family. And you have access to a platform, so a web-based platform, but we've also just recently launched our mobile app. And on there, you can have a two-way dialogue with us, with our team, and it really is a sense of a community instead of a panel.
So say, for example, you work with brands like Google, Pepsi, eBay, Amazon Prime Video. What do you deliver to them using this community of 35,000 people?
So we ask our young people to give their feedback, their ideas, their insights to a whole range of topics and themes that brands and agencies want to find out. We have two parts to our company. You can ask questions every single day. Clients can ask questions every single day to our community. That's called our Imagine Index. And every single day, you can go on and you can search by a theme, a topic, a phrase, and all of the qualitative long-form answers that we have from our community will appear. So we are asking our young people to answer questions, and we're asking them to write their honest thoughts, and they really are very honest.
Are they just random young people, or are they kind of influencer-type young people?
It's everyone and anyone. As I said, there's no prerequisite, there's no barrier to entry. As long as you are with that age, our community is incredibly diverse, and what we're asking for is a diversity in thought. So we want people to respond in different ways with their honest thoughts about the questions that they're being asked.
Well, give me an example of what kind of thing you're asking them. Say, for example, you're working with Google. What does Google want your community to tell them via you?
So it could be about a specific product. So for example, Google have the product Waze, and they want to know what young people think about the user experience. What's good, what's bad, what they love, what they don't love, what they want to change, what their thoughts are for the growth. So it can be anything and everything from a micro level, but then for our index product, it's at a macro level. So you would ask questions like, what is your favorite snack in your downtime? Or what is your favorite go-to thing to watch? So you wouldn't be asking specific questions with our index about micro topics, but in terms of the macro, that's our index.
And how long has this kind of thing been going on? I mean, I never heard of this a few years ago. When did it begin, this kind of work?
So we're in our 4th year now, which is amazing. And there was always a desire to want to help young people, to give young people a platform to have their opinions heard, to enable them to have a chance to give their feedback that would in turn help brands to develop and to grow. And that's the premise behind setting it up. We're 4 years in now and growing and growing. As I said, we've launched this new product recently, and the aim is that we will continue to grow our community in more countries across the world and continue this amazing journey.
Are there many companies doing the same thing as Imagine Insights?
Luckily for us, no. There are companies doing quant, So, you know, numerical or multiple choice, and some people may have heard of GWI. They are a great platform for those quantitative multiple choice questions, but we are doing the qualitative, so that long form verbatim, and there's no one else, as far as we know, doing that at the moment.
One of the most remarkable things, it seems to me, about Imagine Insights is that you promise that you can deliver to these big brands information within minutes. How do you do that?
So we built our own technology, which is amazing, and we also have the best dev team in the world. And so we can build, what we can do every single day is build with our dev team. And we're also, every client, every brand, every agency that we work with, we have the great position that we are able to build alongside them. So if they say, I'd like this feature, then we can try and build that. We can put that into our roadmap.
So say if eBay come to you and they say, we want to know if people like our whatever thing, you can tell them an answer within how fast?
So if they were to type in any phrase, keyword, topic into our index, that data, all of that data will come up straight away. So we have this huge bank of qualitative data, and we're asking our community questions every single day. So we ask our own questions, and then brands ask their questions as well. So if you think about the scale of that, it's huge, and then because it's our own technology, you literally type it in, and that data appears.
What's your own background? I mean, how did you get into this whole area?
So I actually worked in media agencies for many years and had an amazing career, loved working in the agency space, but I'd always wanted to do something specifically around young people. I come from a family of teachers, and it was very much in my DNA to support and to help young people. And fast forward, and I'm sure we'll talk about my career and journey a little bit more, I met my co-founder, Jay, who is over here, and we came together and had very similar views. We're very different people, but we had very similar views about how to give young people a platform to have their voice and to elevate the voices of young people. And how can we do that in a way that gives them not just the chance to say what they think, but also to earn money. And it's really important to note that we pay all of our young people for every single insight that they provide.
And how does it work in terms of payment? Basically, how much would a young person get if they were a member of your community?
It completely ranges. So if they are answering questions every day, they will get paid every time they answer a question daily. And then if they do a larger brief, so if they're asking a longer number of questions, they will get paid additionally for that, and that will be more.
What's the smallest amount they would get for doing some little bit of work or, you know, answering a question for you?
So the smallest amount would be in pounds. I'm not sure of the exchange rate, excuse me, but £2.50. And then, as I said, that goes up. But we also offer a whole range of other opportunities. Whenever we are speaking at events and we have the chance to have a panel, we will invite our community along with us and they will get paid. We have a podcast. If they come on the podcast or they do any other speaking opportunity with us, then they also get paid additionally.
This talk is called The Future World of Work. What were some of your own experiences, Kat, when you entered the workforce?
Wow, that's going back a little bit. So I took my first job in a media agency, but I didn't go to university. And when I started my career, I actually had to take a pay cut because I hadn't been to university. And it's something that really stuck with me for many years. And there was a lack of confidence around my ability and whether I was good enough to be in the same position as other people. And I didn't realise at the time the effect that that would have on me just by taking a pay cut in my first job. And
I mean, you got paid less than people doing the same job who had a degree.
But they had a degree, exactly. And I still went on to have an incredible career, and I'm here now, so I think that's testament to say I've had that amazing career so far. I've co-founded and founded businesses, but that was something that was very, very prominent in my early career.
But going back before that, did you ever have any like crap jobs? I don't know, working in a shop, or I don't know. No offense to people working in shops.
Yeah, I did. I love trainers. I'm wearing trainers now. And I worked in trainer shops, sports shops throughout school. As soon as I could go to work, I went to work. I wanted to have my own money. I wanted my independence. I remember ironing shirts for my dad at, I think, 20p at the time, which, I'm not sure what that is now.
How is the world of work changing now, especially after COVID?
COVID, of course, has had a massive impact on a lot of people, but for Gen Z specifically, for young people specifically, it's had a really huge impact not only on work, but obviously mentally as well. And things have shifted. Times have changed, jobs have changed. It's very hard in the UK and many other countries to get jobs and to find a career and that stability. There's a lot of freelance work. There are a lot of, contracting jobs. I'm sure we'll talk about the gig economy, but it has changed the way that people approach careers. I'm very passionate about hiring and also enabling people that haven't been in higher education to come into the workplace, and that's one thing that I've really tried to focus on with other employers, is how can we diversify the skill set that we have in the world of work, taking into account things like the pandemic, but also let's highlight some of the brilliance that there is out there and against some of those challenges and try and bring that into the current world of work.
Did COVID accelerate changes that may have come anyway, would have come anyway?
I think so. The big thing for me is that flexible working is now more of a thing. When I'm a millennial and when I was working, we used to fight to have any form of flexibility, taking half day, or I have a small child, so being able to go and pick her up from nursery or to be around for a certain time of the day was really, really difficult. And that I see as a positive that has come out of the pandemic, is that hopefully people do have more flexibility and can live and work around things. That doesn't mean that you're not dedicated to your job, and it doesn't mean that you're not passionate about what you do, but we also, the need to have a life and enjoy life outside of work is also really important.
What's the general situation in the UK now with work from home? I think in the Czech Republic, most organizations want people back, or most people are back, and that's what the way the organizations and employers want it. How is it in the UK?
It depends on the sector, of course, and as a business we are very lucky because we set up our business from a culture-first perspective, and we do 2 days in the office. Some people like to be in the office more. I do 2 days, that works for me. There has just been a bill recently passed that is mainly for the UK, and actually not all of the countries within the UK, that is allowing flexible working from the moment that you start your job, and not something that you have to request after being there for a certain amount of time. So I think in some situations, yes, people are asking them to go back more, but hopefully there is more of a dialogue happening between employers and employees.
You're an employer, I guess. Do you trust your people to actually work? Or do you care how they go about their day when they're at home?
Yes, we have a job to do. We are running a business. If people are dedicated and passionate and believe in the growth of the business and share the business values that you have, then yes, we need to trust people. Of course, everybody works differently, so we need to learn as employers to be more flexible with different needs and different styles of working, and what works for some people might not work for others. But we have to try and trust people, otherwise we'll spend half of our time just worrying about what people are doing.
And do some companies like track people's work via their computers and stuff? This is possible, right?
It is possible. We don't do that. I feel that that's a bit of a violation of your privacy, but if that's what businesses want to do, then fair enough.
I'm just going to take a moment to admit to one time taking not one nap when I was working at home, but 2 naps in one day. I still did my work, but, you know, just going to confess that one right now. The young people who you include in your community, typically, what else are they doing, those who are in the workforce?
There are lots of side hustles. So every year we have our annual report that we launch called the Brutally Honest Gen Z Report. And in there, 29% of respondents had said that they have a side hustle or would like to explore entrepreneurial routes.
Maybe you might just explain what's a side hustle for people maybe who wouldn't know the term.
Yes. So an additional job or way to earn money in addition to your main earning job.
Because your main job is not enough in today's world.
Exactly.
And what effect does it have on people if they can't make enough money from their main job and they also feel like after work they have to go and do a shift in a restaurant or whatever?
It is still really tough. So yes, that does happen. That's the beauty of the business that we have set up, is that people can do this alongside work, studies, hobbies. You know, you can answer these questions around what you're doing anyway. So there are hopefully lots of other companies that are starting to offer ways that young people can earn money in addition to their other jobs.
Why is it that young people in the UK, and I presume other Western countries, need to work so much?
Because the cost of living is crazily high. Rental market is almost impossible for young people. Getting on the property ladder is, you know, it's a dream for a lot of young people. It's really, really high. The rates of inflation are high, as I'm sure lots of people know. And when you're coming into this and you're a young person, it's very hard to be able to save and to be able to plan for the future.
Does that mean that people who come from a relatively wealthy background have an automatic, easier start in their life in work?
To some extent. I think it would be wrong to generalise everybody. But I think there are opportunities that perhaps come to people that have more of a privileged background.
Maybe it's not your area completely, but internships are a big thing in many Western countries where people work for free for a while in some organizations. Is that big in the UK? Is that still a big thing?
It does happen. It happens more within media, film, TV. Actually, a lot of companies in the UK are now shifting, and I would never have an intern that we didn't pay now. And I'm hoping that there are a lot more companies that are doing the same, because it's unethical having people work for free.
But if it's unethical, or why are so many people willing to do it?
Because people are scared about not being able to. It's a foot in the door. It's how can I get on the ladder? How can I start in a company that may potentially give me a job? Because it is very hard. But actually there needs to be more practices and guidelines around basic pay, you know.
What would you say to a young person who came to you and said, I have the chance for an unpaid internship? Is that something you would say, don't do it, or?
I'd say join the community and earn money that way. If we're going to employ you, then we'll pay you.
Do you think that people today are working harder in general than people a couple of decades ago? 'Cause that's my impression.
Again, I think it differs per sector, and I think it's a slightly different way of working. From my own experience, I worked all hours of every day, and that was our way of getting ahead. And going back to the balance, that was something that I didn't experience. It was work, work, work. If you have time for a life outside of that, then great. I think that it's shifted. I think there are people that are working incredibly hard, but especially from Gen Z, what we're hearing is they're pushing back and saying, I want to have a balance. I'm career-driven, I'm passionate about what I do, but I also want to have a life outside of work. And our report, as I mentioned, 43% of the respondents actually said that work-life balance was a priority over pay and career progression. So do they work harder? I think it depends on the industry. I think that the style of working is different.
Do you think that often it's the case, or in some cases it's the case, that young people are doing jobs that their parents don't even know what the jobs are? They don't understand what the younger generation are doing.
I would flip that and say, do they ask? Are they curious enough? Are they really involved and asking the right questions to find out about the business? I always try and explain what we do as a company to my mum and hope that if she understands, then many more people will understand. And as a parent myself, I would like to hope that when my daughter grows up, I can ask her all about the things that she's doing to get a full understanding. And I think it feels a bit like a cop-out to say, I don't understand because I don't have the knowledge or I'm not in that space. I think be curious, ask the questions, and make it your job to know what your children or those around you are doing.
I went on the website of your company and I found a couple of interesting job titles. One was Client Success Manager, which sounds pretty cool, managing the success. But also there was one person whose job title was People Genius. What does the People Genius do? I wish I was a People Genius, but what does the People Genius do?
So that's human resources, and she does everything for people. She's there to support people, to guide people, to put contracts together, to make sure that everybody is happy and well, and if they have got any queries or questions or worries, that they can go to her. So.
Why is your company so much focused? I know that's the nature of your company, but why were you interested in Generation Z?
Because they're the future, quite simply. And with Alpha, Generation Alpha, the younger generation, and my daughter is a Gen Alpha, in my opinion, we have to listen to this generation. We have to hear, and as a business owner, but also as a human being, if we're going to evolve and we're going to learn and we're going to develop our own skills and business skills, then how are we going to do that if we don't surround ourselves with these young people? And there's a lot of negativity that I hear around this generation. They're lazy, they don't want to work as hard, they're not as driven. And I say, let's flip that. And what an amazing time to be in, that young people are pushing boundaries and trying to challenge those historic ways of working and bring new things to the table. Let's not forget they are a digitally native generation and they've grown up with technology. I think that's amazing. I think I can go into my business every day and learn something new and upskill myself and prepare for a future.
Just to rewind a tiny bit, children are called Generation Alpha?
Indeed.
This is news to me. I knew after Z they had to go back to A some way, but I didn't know.
Gen Alpha.
Under what age? What's the...
So Gen Z are between 8 now and 27, so below 8.
Also, you guys, according to your website, you work with boomers. What do you do with boomers? I'm a boomer, by the way. You can probably tell by looking at me. But...
Sign up to our community. So this is our index product that I was mentioning earlier. So you can answer questions every single day and also earn money. So if you would like another side hustle, then please join us.
As soon as we get off stage, I'll sign up. About Generation Z again, what do you find to be the challenges for you of working with them, or what are they expecting that a different generation maybe wouldn't expect?
That balance is absolutely key. As an employer, I expect, as I would with anybody that we employ, which is hard work when you're in the office, passion, drive, accountability, a sense of humour, and ideally someone that wants to enjoy working with us. And as Gen Z, what we're hearing from our community and from our employees is that they want to be involved in the conversation. So they want to be heard, they want to co-create with us, they want to feel that their suggestions are really getting heard and that change will happen as a result of this co-working.
But do you feel some of them at least are, how should I put it, they suffered problems because of what's happened in recent years with COVID and everything, that they missed out on certain things, that they kind of lost out in a way?
There is a rising conversation, which I also believe is a good thing, around mental health and mental well-being. And of course, that generation and many others have suffered as a result of the pandemic. So I would say that that is the main factor that we are seeing as an employer. But then as our responsibility, we then need to be very open to having those conversations. And it's a real mindset shift as well, because I remember people saying to me, just get on with it. Oh, you're upset, or you're stressed, or you're having a hard time. Just get on with it, just deal with it. And we need to be more open to the things that have happened to people and the way that it's affected them.
But is there room for that in the workplace? Are companies able to help people in that way?
If you want to, yes, there is. If you believe that that person is ultimately going to deliver a better outcome if they are happier in the workplace, then yes.
Generation Z, they aren't just defined by the years in which they were born. It's also to do with the fact that they're digital natives. How does that shape them, or what does it mean that they are digital natives?
Having technology at your fingertips for as long as you can remember gives you that ability to be able to access data, news, research, knowledge so much faster than we could have done. And with that comes a sense of activism and opinion and wanting to share those thoughts and be in the midst of conversations. So being able to have that technology really enhances that from a much younger age.
Do you think there's any downside to having grown up in the age of internet? I mean, all around us, internet.
Of course. I mean, the downside is the effects of social media, which all of us see, but especially the younger generation, and the way that social media, and it's highly documented, can affect someone's mental health, and the pressure that that puts on young people as they are growing up in a very impressionable stage can be very damaging. So that's very much down to guardians and people around them, whether it's siblings or friends, being aware of the controls and the elements that you need to put in place around technology.
And how much is social media part of the kind of work environment? Because if you join a new company, should you become Facebook friends with your colleagues? All those kind of questions.
I mean, I have a private Instagram account because I don't want my daughter to be, her pictures to be in everybody's hands. So I would say, in my case, I don't need to have that. Social media is actually being limited for some people, so they're choosing as and when to do that. And some people even have 2 accounts. So if people are wanting to keep things private, then they can do that, but then they can have something that is also mainstream. I mean, younger people are using TikTok, for example, as their main search engine now, so it's huge in that sense, and it plays a big role. But I think there are elements, and I've heard this from our young people, that they are starting to limit their use of social media and how much they interact with that.
And how much does Imagine Insights have to really get stuck into social media? For example, if in the next year there was some new social network that took off with kids, how much would you have to devote yourselves to understanding it and working with it?
we have to be involved. We have to listen to our community, and if our young people are on these apps or on these platforms, then of course we need to know what it is that they're talking about. Broader social media, I mean, for us, LinkedIn is an absolutely huge driver of business. So you might not necessarily think that as a Gen Z initial platform to use, but for us as a business, LinkedIn is huge. But yeah, of course, we need to stay on top of all of the trends and all of the platforms.
Are young people using LinkedIn? I thought it was for older people.
They are, but they're also using things like TikTok, and we now see when we're hiring people and lots of other employers, and I try to encourage other employers to do this, is how can you create different ways for people to apply for your jobs? So can you create a video? Can you do something on TikTok that would make us notice you, that would give us a different angle into why you want to apply for the job?
When it comes to employers, what are the skills that they're looking for among young people, do you think?
Definitely that drive and passion, as I've said, that doesn't change, but also that ability to come to the table with suggestions and solutions and ways to change and improve businesses. Okay, admittedly, we might not always say yes to those, but to be having a two-way conversation to feel like they are really being heard.
Identity is obviously a big issue for young people. Is inclusivity just the kind of given now for that generation? Do they all expect it?
Absolutely, and they should, and we should, and it's something that we need to embrace as an older generation. It has to be at the forefront. We have to not consider diversity and inclusion as an afterthought, as a tick box onto the end of how great your company is. It has to be something that is weaved throughout your business.
And how are brands, especially some of these really huge brands that you work with, how are they doing in terms of adapting to this new reality of young people's expectations?
Some are doing it well, some are not. The main thing that we urge brands to do is to consult with young people. So for example, if one of our clients were going to put out an ad on television and they hadn't spoken to Gen Z first and to young people first and gone ahead with that advert, the likelihood of that working is probably very low. So the big thing for us is to say, talk to your audience, ask them what they think, and then actively go and make a change, make a product, make an ad, make some content off the back of that.
So the danger is for the brands, if they don't speak to young people, their product or their video or whatever could be seen as cringy and... Exactly,
which happens, and we've had numerous cases of that where we've seen that firsthand.
Well, can you give me an example of like a really crappy approach that of some corporation?
So I won't name any of our clients, just in case they're around, but Shein, Balenciaga, I mean, probably people have seen a lot of why they have been cancelled, and I don't need to go into the details, but in terms of use of inappropriate child images, that's not going to work for brands overall, but especially for this generation who will call that out and will then forget about that brand completely.
And when that happens, there's no way back, I guess.
It's hard.
What advice would you give to a brand that screws up? If some huge brand brings out an advertising campaign and within like a few hours or a day, it's clear they screwed up hugely, what advice would you give them?
Hold your hands up, apologize, and then go and speak with your audience, your target audience, with your consumers, and work out what it is that you're going to do next. But you have to hold your hands up and you have to call it out.
I guess now would be a good time for questions from the audience, if there are any. We're very much open to taking questions if anybody's got one. Are there also people with microphones? I don't see any. No? Come on. Somebody's got a question. Don't be shy. No? Please? No? Okay. Put your hand up in a moment if you feel like it. Big issue with work now is AI. How do you think that's going to impact, for example, your work?
I actually did a LinkedIn poll this morning before we left London, asking what people thought AI would do for the workplace. And my last look just before was that 25% of people said that it will enhance creativity. I agree to an extent, but I do still think there is a need for a human touch. Yes, it can improve efficiency and process and to some degree creativity, but for me, I still think we need humans to be able to develop what we can from that technology.
But how can you practically imagine using it? Maybe you already do use it.
We do.
For what?
So we have that, but we have AI built into our platform so that we can check for plagiarism, we can check that people aren't copy and pasting answers from the internet, which of course people will always try to do. And so it's a fundamental part of
So your community members, they cheat?
Some do, of course they will. But they get found out straight away, they will be given a warning or banned from our platform, and then they have no chance to earn money again.
Do you have any particular fears about how AI could affect your business?
If we use it in the right way, and Musk, for example, is on the other extreme of let's not use AI anymore, if there are guidelines and practices, ethical practices around using AI, I think it will continue to enhance what we have from a technology platform. We are a tech platform. So I don't see any concerns in that sense if we are using it and developing in the right way.
More broadly, speaking about work, what do you think work means to British people? I know some countries, people take work more like it's a secondary thing. They live to live and they work to make money. How is it in the UK?
Of course, there's an element of that, and I think it completely depends on the sector and the person. I personally love work. I love my job. I feel that it is a complete honour to be able to work in this field and get a huge sense of reward for that. And that's common. But there are people that are struggling because they are in jobs that perhaps they don't want to be in, that they haven't yet found a career or a role that is the role for them. So I really do think it depends on the person, the role, the sector, but I'm lucky enough that I do.
Are there a lot of crappy jobs in the UK? Like, for example, I don't know, call centres?
Of course, but some people are great in a call centre, and we need call centres, and they play a role and a purpose, and they give people a route to promotion and to earn more money. Even people used to say that working in McDonald's was not a great job, but then actually when you speak to some people there, they have a real chance to progress through the ranks.
Also, I think in America, a huge percentage of Americans' first job was in McDonald's. How much do you think people in the UK base their kind of self-respect on their job and their work?
I think a lot. I mean, I think people are proud of what they do, and I think people are passionate and driven from what I see. Again, it's going to change in different circumstances. I think people just want to have a life and be able to work, and that's okay. I think that should be okay.
How much do you ever turn your phone off? How much do you really switch off from work?
Yeah. Admittedly, because I have come from a career of work, it's definitely harder for me. But there are certain times when I'm with my daughter that I need to be focused, and so my phone does go away, and if we're reading books or doing a bath and putting her to bed, then that time is sacred and so important.
And do you think it should be enforced in some way, that people should be allowed to have outside work time where they really are not required to answer email, or even if they're on holiday?
Yeah, I do. I think that if you have that time, the productivity that you have following that is far greater. if you can feel that you can actually switch off. Of course, it's hard. I mean, we're running a business that is 4 years in, and we've had incredible growth, but of course we're still going, we're still growing, so we are on a lot of the time. But we know as a business that we are much, much better when we have that time away.
Again, any questions from the audience here? Yes, here's a brave man. Can we please bring a microphone to the front here? To this gentleman with the glasses here in the gray t-shirt.
Thank you very much. My question is that in the world of AI and increasing automation, let's say reduction of working hours, because the working hours historically were much higher in the past, but now it's like, say, 40 hours. Do you know, what's your opinion about, let's say, the concept of UBI, Universal Basic Income? Could it work in case of people will have more time for themselves?
Sorry, I don't think I heard the last part of the question. Would you mind repeating?
Yeah, Universal Basic Income. In this new evolving work life, do you think that it can be a workable concept?
I think if we use it in the right way to enhance productivity and efficiency, then yes. But I think we have to see, it's still very new. It's still something that we're learning. And to make an assumption, say in Musk's case, of definitely don't do this, or definitely do this, or we have to use it in this way, we don't know yet. It's evolving. We have to see, and we have to trial, and we have to see what's going to work for businesses, for individuals, and really learn from there.
And then do you think that, is there in a way that employers wait towards more trust towards the employees can improve more? Because there is always an issue that if you are not seen, like let's say you are in a home office, you are probably cheating, you are doing something else than your work. And it's always this negative approach. This is my view. It's like, do you think that it can be improved somehow? Like, there's always, not 100% of people are doing exactly what needs to be done, let's say.
I think it comes down to the organisation and how much you are checking in with your employees. So do you have access to, we use Slack as a business. How often are you talking? How often are you communicating? What tasks are you setting out for that day? What are you as an employee accountable for? And if those things aren't done at the end of the day or partway through the day, then you can have a very honest conversation. I want to be able to trust you to do your job, but you need to prove it and you need to show me. So if you can go and do that, and you can, if you want to go and have a 20-minute break because you want to go for a walk outside, or you decide to work an hour later, that's fine, as long as that communication is there and as long as you're delivering on what you've said you're going to deliver.
And then one last from me is like, you mentioned this human touch thing. My view is that people are seeing in the world of AI that everything can be done by AI, even composing music, writing articles. In the age of ChatGPT, even they can just order let's say a study, and then basically just run a question on ChatGPT. And how it can be motivated, how people can be motivated that they are still worth as a human being, they can have this still a human touch somehow. I mean, because it's now visible that machine seems to be can do everything, and then there is the view of that we will be anyway replaced by AI. Like, how can you motivate? Like, what is this human touch?
Again, I think it comes down to the organisation and the people. My belief is that we have to have humans to be able to, yes, you can run something through ChatGPT, but you still need to check that. And you still, if I was to ask you that same question in person, would you be able to answer it in the same way? So I would say possibly. And I want to be able to, again, I want to be able to see the value that you can put that question into ChatGPT, but what else do you do from there? What do you do with that information? How do you take that information and relay that to another person, or build that into a wider campaign or a project that you're working? How are you then teaching people to use that platform and then develop the learning on from there? So I will always believe, I hope, that humans are going to play a huge role. But again, we're learning. We have to see this evolve. If people just suddenly go and put everything into AI, I don't think businesses will look like they do right now. And I think there'll probably be a lot of failures as well as successes, but I think there'll be a lot of failures too.
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? One thing I was wondering about, obviously work conditions are different in different countries. For example, in America, if you get a new job, you might get 1 week holiday in your first year. In Europe, it's much better. In the Czech Republic, for example, it's difficult to find part-time jobs, which is particularly problematic for women because they come back to work after having a child and they really have trouble to get a part-time job. How is that in the UK? Is it doable?
It's also very hard. We still see a number of women that don't go back to work because the cost of childcare is extremely high. And there's a lot of private nurseries, for example, but the cost is astronomical. So it is still very hard, and we are experiencing a lot of the same things in the UK.
And what do you say to the idea, for example, I don't know if it still exists in France or if it was only an idea, of a 4-day working week?
Yes. We actually have shorter hours at our company. So we start at 10 and we work until 4 p.m. That is our workaround to that solution. Based on our experience and our clients, having a 4-day wouldn't necessarily work, but having the shorter hours, and we put this on our email signatures as well so that clients know, works better for us. So I think in some cases it can be great for businesses, but for ours, 5 days at less hours.
What was your motivation? Because that's a pretty short day. What was your motivation for creating that system?
Having a life outside of work. Being able to do whether it's going to the gym in the morning, whether it's spending time with your child, whether it's whatever your passion or your hobby is outside of those hours. Can you do your job in those hours? Yes, yes, you can. And you can be more productive.
Does it happen with part-time jobs that you're expected to do like more than a half, let's say a half-time job, you're expected to do more than half? That's what a lot of people tell me in the Czech Republic. They have a half-time job, they end up doing more than a half job.
And that's what we've seen with the 4-day week, and especially for a lot of working mums, that they would have a Friday where they weren't supposed to work but would end up working anyway, but then earning 25% less salary. So it's still a thing. But I think with this new bill that has come in and more flexible working, the conversations are starting to change in the UK.
You're not an all-seeing prophet, but I'm still curious how you think the world of work will evolve. Will we work more? Will we work less? What's your general outlook?
I think technology will continue to develop, and it will, as we said, enhance productivity, efficiency, and be able to help certain roles to evolve. I don't think the challenge of working or availability of jobs is going to change on the short term. I think the skills that are going to be required, so digital dexterity, for example, will outweigh years of experience. And that's something that is going to be really crucial is, are you open to learn, to develop, to gain new skills, to really challenge yourself if you are not Gen Z, and be able to create a future within this new way of working. So I'm optimistic, and I think there's lots and lots of things that are going to happen that are going to be very positive. But I think if you're not Gen Z, then you really need to think about how you're going to embrace these changes to be able to have a job in 10, 15, 20 years' time.
I was going to ask you, as an older person, what do I need to do to keep myself employable as I'm over 50? What do I do?
Embrace change. Learn from the younger people around you.
Join TikTok.
Join TikTok. Join our community. But listen, ask questions. You know, ask questions from lots of different people, from lots of different backgrounds, and learn and be open to new ways of working. And I think that will help you to adapt and hopefully enjoy the next.
Well, let's hope so. I think on that note, we can wrap up this talk. Thank you very much, Kat, Agostinho, and thank you guys for coming and taking part. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.